Hey guys, what's going on? It's Alexander Williamson here with The Secret History, living in your aquarium. Wait, that one. That one. It could live in there. Yeah. How's everybody doing? Let's see who's in here. We've got lots of great folks in here. Wow, y'all were early tonight. So we got Mary, we got Mridgel Allen, we got the Nano Aquarium guy. We got C.H. Cody, Azuravian 2. What's up? Your average fish keeper, Texas Fish. Hillbilly Aquatic, S. Xanadu, Posiwi, Ginger Graves, my dear. Patty's Petite Tanks. Where's my precious? There we go. So I have some exciting news. As if my week couldn't get any better. I hit myself in the face with a doorknob, and I knocked out 2 teeth. Pretty classic. On Tuesday, I have an appointment to get them all pulled and get some implants going on, finally. They were fragile, I'm sure, because of the lightning strike cracking, hairline fracturing, a bunch of the stuff. But now I just look really, really trashy or classy, I mean. Yeah, so try not to stare at my teeth. Man. And yeah, it did hurt. The doorknob. Well, I tried to pull this dumb little light. I tried to pull into this room. And the door, I was on the ground and I was trying to pull it. And I pulled under the door this afternoon. And the doorknob just opened right into my face. And it wasn't much of a hit, but it cracked the tooth right at, like, not right above the gum level anyways. And it already had a crown. So it really just knocked the crown off one tooth and then did break another tooth. So, and just, yeah. But tonight, it's not about teeth. So try not to stare at my teeth. Maybe I should wear a mask. Maybe I'll just talk like this. But we are going to talk about aquascapes that were submitted into the Aquascape contest. Yay! Kelly Huff, awesome. Glad that you made a live stream. I will jot it down that you've joined us now. Yeah, Randy, you said it. It's been a great week. Yeah. What can I say though? I mean, you know, life's okay. Life's good. We're all gonna get through it. All right, so let's hop right along here. Let me figure out what I need to pull up. We've got spreadsheets. We've got things and upon other things, and so we're gonna share. We're gonna share screen. Okay. We're gonna share window. Okay. And we are going to. Let's make sure this works. Chrome tab. There we go. Okay. All right. So, did this work? Let's see how it loads. I hope this doesn't bog us down terribly. But we've got all of our entries here. Now, we graded our top entries, and I have that sheet. Privy to me. Let me get also set up here on my phone so I can see you guys commenting. Hey, Liquid Zoo, thank you so much for joining as a member. I really appreciate it. As always, funds go to growing the channel, buying and repairing anything in the fish room, and also doing giveaways and give-backs to you guys whenever I can. And just basically now at this point, it's actually become enough of a machine that, you know, I try to dedicate at least 40 hours a week to y'all, researching and finding interesting stuff to talk about over the course of the week, and the newest science, the latest science, talking to people. So turns out that on Sunday at 2 o'clock, we have a very special guest. And I'm really excited about it. We're going to be talking Frank Magallanes, and he's from Oregon, and he is probably the foremost expert in piranhas in the world, and he's working on a book right now, kind of his life's work, really, of everything piranha, all species of them. And yeah, so on this Sunday, we're going to have a special episode where he's going to talk about the myths and the legends, the truths, the half-truths, the not true at alls, and the myths, the mystery that are piranhas. So that should be kind of cool, kind of fun. Alrighty, let's see here. Is this gonna work for me now? Do 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 do. Got to have your comments right in front of my face. Trying to not breeding piranha in Washington. Nope, he is in Oregon where it is legal. Lucky dog. We cannot have piranhas here. All right. Okay. I think I've got the chat. Okay. Now I can see chat. Now it's not just this weird version of only members. All right. So I've got the chat up, but let's start pulling apart your lives. No. So we're going to go we're just going to go from, well, how do you guys want to do it? Actually, let's get a poll. I'll put a poll in the chat if I can. Oh, it's not going to let me now. This silly thingamajig. Okay. I would put a poll in the chat normally, but I can't right now, apparently, because of StreamYard. But if you guys want to start if you want to start at the first place and talk about it working backwards through the rankings, let me know with the number 1 and hit number 1. If you want to work from the other end, the mid part of the spectrum, because tonight we can't cover everyone in one show probably. So what we're going to do is we're going to select from all the ones that are the highest ranked, basically the top 25, 30-ish, and that we have given notes from. So Mridjal, the judge, Mridjal Singh, and also Alan Bauer were both in the chat. They've given me their notes, and I have those here, and I'll read those, and I will give you my feedback, and we'll talk about the aquascape. We'll look at the aquascape. But do you guys want to start at number 1, or do you want to start at the middle? Hit number 2 if you want to start at the lower scores and work towards the higher scores. If you want to start at the higher scores and work towards the lower scores, hit number 1 and just enter it into the chat right now for me, and I'll see if we get more 1s or 2s. Hey Jackson Tax, what's going on? Posiwi. All right, looks like we're gonna start mid contest, and then anybody who wants more feedback, we'll probably do another episode, just a laid back episode, doing feedback. If you guys want me to cover any of the other folks or some of the folks that entered and had great entries but were disqualified because, for instance, they didn't provide us some info, or they only did end shots with nothing else and like no proof that it's theirs or that they planned it or what their plans were, stuff like that. But we could still look at it and assess it. Obviously, I'm no whatever. I'm no genius or anything like that when it comes to anything. If I was, I'd be doing aquascaping all the time and not, I wouldn't be doing YouTube probably. I'd probably be aquascaping with my life. And because of this, I just wanted, I just want you guys to know that I am an artist of 15 years, a professional artist, and I have been aquascaping for 6 or 7 years, and I've won 3 aquascaping contests, a first place and a 4th in second place, including ones where you're there on site doing it. But never done anything like the ADA ones or anything like that. So take it with a grain of salt. It's just kind of our 2 cents. and you can take the feedback, or you can say, you know what, I don't, you know, I don't need it or whatever. So we're gonna start with a 10-gallon aquarium by Backroom Aquarist. So let's find that one. Backroom Aquarist. Oh, yes. So, and we have a final video here, but I'm going to open up this. I think we can see this pretty well. And then here again. And when this started, this one, you can see actually, when it started, there was a plan of some stone here. And the stone and the pathway was a lot more defined. I think that, one, they had trouble getting the immersed growth, and it's probably because of the substrate, honestly. If this would have been aqua soil and a bunch of root tabs, it may have done better. I heard that the grass did fill in, though, which is great. And this looks like one of those arches maybe that you get that has the Sawasterton on it already. But, I mean, I could see what was the aim here. The slope back is always good. That's a good start, and that's what I would expect of, you know, any good aquascape. Generally, you slope it upwards in the back for perspective to help take the eye and focus the eye up and into the midpoint, into the rule of thirds, basically. And you know, the other thing that's cool here that I can see is that there was some attempts here at floating, and it looks like there's something to help float under the rim here, of maybe some fry, keeping some fry separate, but also that brought some stuff right up to the top to try out. Obviously, this wouldn't be the most aesthetically pleasing thing to have in there for the final thing, but if we're talking about, it looks like, you know, some rice fish, and pardon me if in these videos I'm gonna get some details wrong, just because I'm going to have to breeze through by visual sight and not by memory and all the lovely details you did provide me on these things. So sorry, folks, but I'm just going to have to kind of go by this because otherwise it would take a really long time to read all the entries again and do that. But what I wanted to read out was the other comments too from the other guys, which is good growth over time. More plants would bring a more cohesive effect. Overall, because the plants are awesome and the grass growing in, filling in would be good. For CPDs, you want to have more plants and cover with the use of the easy to grow plants like Java moss, Rotala rotundifolia, and guppy grass. Looks like you need more fertilizers, possibly more light. And I think those comments are pretty on point. It looks like you got immersed growth though, which is impressive with how leggy some of these are. I think that's definitely a lack of nutrients in the base probably. So sometimes planning out your aquarium, depending on what you want. If you have cichlids or something, then obviously you're going to plan it differently. And this kind of substrate would be totally proper. But since you don't have the substrate that's pre-packed with all the nitrates and nutrients, minerals and things like a stratum, even, it's not even like that. It's gravel and sand. When we do gravel and sand, you either get nutrients from mulm from a large fish bioload over time, and then you have kind of a sustainable deal going, or you kind of end up with needing to dose the water column. And so with this, I think dosing the water column would definitely have helped. I don't know if you maybe did and then had some battles with algae, but you could dose the water column with even like a all-in-one fertilizer would probably help. It's just without a really good light, it's hard to know too if with dosing that, there's just more variables that you can't control. If you don't have the liquid CO2 and you don't have a high light and you don't have all the essential vitamins, minerals, and nutrients, if you don't have them broken up into, you know, potassium, iron, nitrates, and be able to dose kind of with the estimated index method, then it's easy once you get algae to not have enough other ways to kind of slide up and down the control knobs to try to compensate for things. So you could also add some floating plants if you were worried about highlight causing algae. That filter looks really nicely grown in and covered. But yeah, so unfortunately we can't do a ton of time on each one, but we're going to move on from there. And I just want to say that, I mean, I saw with the pathway going on and everything, another little trick would be to run the pathway rather than this way right in the front, would be to run that pathway up into that corner where you've got it going up high, and pick a spot which we call, you know, in art or photography, a vanishing point. And the vanishing point would be right where, let's see, yeah, right where, you know, this corner is, where the horizon is essentially. And so if you made a little path that came up there, your path could be 1/2 inch wide up here and 3 or 4 inches wide in the front, and it would give it more depth. It looks like you kind of did that here, but just with a different angle. So you might want to try that out. But again, I mean, it looks like a viable habitat for critters, and that was our biggest thought. He says, yeah, this one did have algae blooms and DIY CO2 mishaps. So I mean, yeah, you were trying a lot of new things, and also tried to do this as cheap as possible, basically. And that is, I mean, you learn from it. So I think that's worth a lot to say you learned from something like that. So next up we have Harrison Maxwell. So let's find that one. Harrison Maxwell, here we are. So in this one, this looks more like a cichlid environment. We've got the Aponogetons, or sword plants, it looks like. And the issues why in our specific contest, obviously this didn't get a higher ranking, is because it wasn't immersed growth. But we still did feedback on this regardless, because it's a nice looking, you know, it looks like a nice looking tank. So I'm going to read the other guy's notes first, which is more plants would be good. Scaping these small cubes is tricky. Oh wait, is this did he have 2 entries? Hold on. Let's double check. Yes, he did. Okay. So here was the other one. So this one here was the other one. And I like this arrangement of rocks here. It looks like we have a betta in here. And yeah, sharing your stories in the chat is awesome, you guys. I totally dig that. So right on. It looks like we have maybe one plant that made it to the top. I don't know if it did or if it's floating. Let's see from this picture. Yeah, it's really hard to tell. It looks like there might be a stem there. But then we've got, what's the other picture in here? Fertilizer balls. Okay, so these are like probably like our root tabs. They're just a variation on it. But let's stick with this picture. Okay, we'll stick with this picture because I like the rock formation. I like this. I'm curious if they were glued together or if that's just resting. I've had rock structures collapse on fish before. So sometimes I like to pin in the rock with another rock up here, but I get the aesthetic not wanting to be stacked too high also totally. So let's see here. All right. So the notes on this are more plants would be good. Scaping these small cubes is tricky. Maybe a corner-to-corner oriented scape. Some bits of Bucephalandra or Anubias among the rocks would be a good detail. Nice try. Would love to see more plants, especially more stems and mosses. Play around with some more of the emergent growth in the future. We like the hardscape, and the beta will enjoy exploring those crevices. So there's the notes from the other guys. Thanks, other guys. And yeah, I mean, if you put, I'd like to put like a focal point plant here, maybe a taller Anubias, and then use Anubias Nana Petite somewhere, or you could use a variegated one here in the front so that it just really pops when you're looking at it. And then you could do a carpet if you wanted here, but with this sand and gravel mix, it would be a tricky. So what I would do is I would do stargrass. I would use, whoa, what just happened? That zoomed in very far. I would do stargrass, and stargrass works really well. We'll look at this picture too, because it looks like this plant died in between the beginning and the end. But I'm guessing that this sand, it looks like sugar sand, and it's probably too dense for this scape. But the scape is tilted back, and it's tilted back on the axis, so it's going both sides up. I would try tilting up just one corner. Like I'm guessing, Rigel, are your notes first, you know, or are Alan's when I read those? But in any case, one of them noted that also. And then you could go wild with stem plants back here. I mean, you could get some Ludwigia super red and some Rotala rotundifolia or some Mayaca, some real fine leaf stuff even. And that would be a really, notes are in alphabetical order. So Alan, your notes are first. Is that what you're saying? Yeah, then you could do kind of like a small Dutch background. I like to do that on my own in other tanks where you kind of build a wall. That's almost the first thing I always do when growing out tanks is I cut stem plants and I put them at 2 or 3 inches tall, so they're not even showing hardly. And when they grow to about 5 inches, I cut them again. So 2.5 inches, they get planted, the crown right back into the ground, because I can't afford to plant all of them at once usually. And then I do that before I even worry about the rest of the scape. And then that way I've got like, you know, maybe I start with 5, and then after a week I have 10. After 2 weeks we've got 20. After 3 weeks we've got, you know, and so then you've got 40 stems growing up, and it looks pretty dense. It blocks out the background. You can hide filter, heater, all that kind of stuff. But I like these rocks. You know, this is more of a brackish water setup or a African rift lake kind of setup with these stones and then the lack of plants down here. So I would also consider maybe adding some leaf litter or leaf debris, because betas really like that. They like the tannins, and it would look really good, I think, in this. But yeah, nice job with the cube, Das Cube. So let's go to that other one right above. This one looks very nice as well. So here we go. We've got a couple silver dollars, an angelfish, some skirt tetras. This is a nice looking tank with a nice sword. I don't know if this is a Prinz Kleiner sword, or I'm not positive which type of swords these are. And then it looks like some Java. But clearly for our contest, not nearly enough plants. I know some of the bigger fish can be rough on plants, so I do understand that. But what I would say is if you could pull some of this wood together and either pick a side and orient all the wood onto one side and then have it radiating outward, that would be good. Or pull it together even using wire if you need to, and then kind of TP it in the middle, and then take some of these sword plants and ring the main pile of wood there. And then you could have kind of a little pile of rocks here and some pile of rocks around the wood and stuff, so that your eye is drawn to one place. Right now the eye is kind of drawn to this plant, but then once it gets there, it's kind of like, what now? You know what I mean? But that's just my kind of opinion. And again, the substrate's not dirt or anything, it's gravel. So over time, mulm will build up. You don't want to put root tabs right away because they'll break down real quickly in gravel that's not that deep. But if you've got deep enough spots, it's hard to tell from this picture. If it's deep enough that you can get that 2 inches or so under the gravel, then you could start playing with some stem plants. But definitely you could play with lots of Java fern, Anubias, Bucephalandra, any bulb plants, all that stuff. Barclay longifolia, Logonandra, crypts for that matter. All that, you could play with that right now. And it would be fun. Yeah, we could do a low-tech planted tank competition. That's kind of what we did last year. And the notes on this one from the fellow guys is more plants, more plants. Try adding some more fish as well, possibly more schools, especially to balance out those species that are alone and in few numbers. But more plants. That's funny. Send those peppers to medical school. Thank you, Alan. I don't know why you're giving me money still, dude. You're doing all this hard work for me for this whole contest, and then you're still tossing me money. I guess I shouldn't complain. Cheers, sir. Cheers. I need to go to dental school before medical school, but thank you, Alan. Okay, so next we've got Ben Excel, or Bien Excel. Let's see. Going back to B, going to the B's. Put some B's on that. Let's see here. No. This it? Did I miss it? No. There we go. Ben Excel. All right. This one, we got the initial image, which was odd. This picture. I don't know if the wrong picture loaded or what. I mean, it's a fine looking pleco. Really is. A blue seam and citrus there. But here's the final image on it, which looks really fabulous. Again, we had to take points off for the contest for the fact that there was no real immersive growth. But, I mean, the plants are there that if this had been started in May or June and really had high light, it could have been trained, I mean, like with string or whatever else. And this penny wart, money wart, whatnot, could have been, you know, brought up and out of the water. Did the quality of the stream downgrade heavily, or is it just my end? Did the video quality get pretty bad, folks? But again, I mean, there's a really nice combination of fish in here with oh, okay, good. Glad to hear that it's fine. On my end, it's pixelated. It looks like frickin' N64. But if it looks good on your guys, then great. But you got like little candy cane tetras, and this I'm guessing is a Pisto red shoulder, like Vieja or something like that, or Vieta. Let's see, does it actually say in here on this one? That was the other thing, was there was no info on that one. But we did like, I mean, the use of the Oko or the Dragonstone, and then this tree, real interesting. I want to know what's going to happen here. What was going on? I'd like to see more, if you could just get some more snaggly roots here and bring them out farther. Bring them out into the front. Bring that eye back all the way into the corner and then up and out of the tank. And you could have all sorts of stuff there. The Anubias looks really good. The for not having its roots down in here, I'm really impressed by the Anubia. I mean, for not having the rhizomes being like big, chunky, and having all like tendrils out everywhere. I am really impressed by it. I wonder if it was grafted to these rocks for a year or so. There's moss also on the Oko stone, and there's more moss here, and then there's an alder cone here. So I mean, there's little hints of things that I really liked. You can see the wood wrapped around over in this side, but I like that, and I think for balance's sake, I'd probably either keep it rock and rock on either sides here, like bring this rock all the way out, not give them room here, or do rock with a nice plant to kind of frame it all. Not perfect symmetry, but just another Anubias cophifolia or Fraseri, or whatever this species was. Looks like cophifolia to me. But on that one, the notes from the other fellas are, immersed growth lacking, sand area feels a little too clean. Could use some plants. Anubias or Boost might work well in there also. Could try adding more texture in the foreground, some bigger sand. Yeah, so even just breaking up that dragonstone and like crumbling it in the foreground, that adds a lot to it also. Plants look healthy. I would just think about the size and positioning a bit. Very focused tank. Would have loved to see the setup images, but no immersed growth was the other comment too. So, you know, that's the other thing is in the back here, I'd love to see this Val or whatever this is. I'm guessing it's Valsinaria, jungle Val maybe. I'd love to see it continue here. And then with this penny wart, you could drape that in while the wood, and you could use spider wood. It doesn't need to actually be one glamorous, expensive piece. There's no rules that say you can't just take another small piece of spider wood and stick it right here. But yeah, the front is very clean, which some people really like that look. However, realistically, it's hard to maintain, in my opinion. And I like being able to plant things. So you may want to consider adding some Eco-Complete or Fluval stratum or, you know, something like that underneath, and then topping it with sand again. But again, the looks like maybe Adolphi quarries in here. I mean, the fish in here are great. Really like the species together. Seems to be a pretty solid, maybe Venezuelan or Uruguay, Paraguay biotope, really, other than the African plants. But yeah, very cool. All right, so then the next one is going to be Hillbilly Aquatics. And let's get out of here. Scroll faster. Make everybody sick. Hillbilly Aquatics. All right. So, starting off, bear. Look at the angelfish, though. They're cute. Starting off bear. And I learned a lot of new things. Had some problems with the immersed plants. Yeah, it's interesting. Look at this, though. Love that. That looks rad. I don't know if this is Rikia or what that is, but I like it that it's growing out of the top, that moss or whatever it is. What's that? Search for the name, it'll jump to it. Okay, thanks. I wasn't sure if it would do that on this file. But let's find, where's a good picture? So this one was a hard one to grade per se, because the trouble is, watch, when you look at it, we couldn't tell what was going on that easily because of the glare. That's clearly another aquarium or a mirror image of this. No, it's not a mirror image of this aquarium. But ironically, in the picture, it looks like the other aquarium has more immersed growth, even though I get that that's growth in this aquarium. But Rigel and Alan, what they had to say was, Nice crypts should fill in well. Wouldn't mind seeing some foreground plants among the crypts for contrast. The immersed section looks good, but it's hard to tell how it works with the overall scape based on the provided pictures. Yeah. And then the other comments from Rigel are great start. Would love to see you add a carpet of some sort in the foreground as well as a ton more plants through the scape. Crypts will fill in, but you need more substance in the back. Nice emergent growth on the hang off the back filter. Looking at the leaves and the nodule distance, you're going to want more nutrients in the water column and maybe some more light if you can get it. That should help you get some more success with the plant varieties as you go. So I think that's really spot on, honestly. You can see with all the snails down here, that's a hint to me that there's too much food being fed too. So you'll probably want to scale back whatever you were feeding the tetras and stuff. They look pretty fat, the tetras. So they're probably fine. But maybe you want snails. I don't know. Maybe you have a puffer tank. Who am I to say? And then if we go to the next photo, obviously the emergent growth is great up here on the filter. But if we look at the floor of the tank, there's nothing that really draws your eye to go anywhere. It's a little too chessboard the way these are planted. Like one thing here, one thing here, one thing here. Almost like chess or checkers the way it's laid out. And with plants, they actually do better usually when they can use each other, when they can kind of prop each other up. So I'd take all these stems and cram them all in one corner and then wait for them to grow halfway, trim them all, and then put them in another corner or put them in the same corner. And with the crypts, I love the crypts. I would maybe, though, have an accent crypt or a plant that's low. You could even take rocks and glue moss or Anubias onto it. But then you could get some structures like triangles and things like that on it that would draw your eye into the horizon or build a little height in your tank for you. Again, look at all these snails. Whoa, why did it go back? I don't understand my life right now. Hold on. But with the way these plants, with the way this bacopa is growing, it's pretty even at first, and then it's getting leggy. You see how long it is between leaves on some of these in the back? So it was reaching for light. So that's another sign that some more light would help. And since you've got this figurine that's maybe like a clay pot or ceramic or something, and then an alligator head it looks like here, it seems like you'd want to build more towards it. So maybe move some of these crypts closer since they're taller, and then you can leave this shorter stuff to carpet. Get maybe a stargrass or valsenaria or even a Monte Carlo you could try, and that might work, as well as tying onto these sticks over here. Bring those sticks into this center display and try out some of those classic displays where that you kind of have the tied together bunch of sticks, island, and stone in the center, and then work your way from there. All right. So next we've got Ken Zhao. So let's back out of here. I'm going to do Ken. Hey, you told me if I typed it in, it would move. It's not true. It's not true, Alan. It's not happening. Luckily enough, this is close enough to the K. Sorry, look away if you're seasick. Come on, computer. Ken, here we go. All right. So we ended up with some frog bit maybe up here. And it looks like maybe some hydrocotyle mixed in. I can't tell if there's one or two in there, but then there's salvinia, water lettuce, and more frog bit, mini frog bit perhaps in there. And then we've got this tank here. And it looks like a paradise fish or kissing fish. Paradise gourami, perhaps. But I like the use of multi-sized stones in here. And the substrate being varied is nice look too. You've got some stray. This is from the floating plants, the roots. And you've got some strays that could just be picked out with tweezers or whatever. I do like the line of sight that this has with the drawing your eye to the back. Really raising that substrate up a few inches would help. And then it looks like we've got a Lodia or an Aquarist of some sort growing in here. That's a quick one that'll grow very fast. And then we've got maybe Val or Sag. It's hard to tell for me if it's a mini Val. It looks like Sag to me. But yeah, so again, we probably had an issue with emergent growth as far as ratings go. But I mean, I think a nice colorful fish, if you got a shot of that fish being colorful, it would have been really beautiful because they're really nice fish and it would tie it all together. But I like that positioning of where you took the picture. I like these rounded kind of river or stream rocks. It makes sense with these low-lying plants. You could maybe do another stick coming out up into here with some moss tied to it and then trim that neat and tightly. I think that would help. And then it would be close to the top so it would grow dense. And yeah, well, thanks, Virgil. I appreciate it, buddy. But it just kind of turned into a bit of a tangle up here, which is understandable. We're all learning. I'm not poo-pooing anybody for what happened, especially the first time they're trying to grow out immerse stuff. It's tricky. All right, so the guys say, cool concept, would like to see have more depth. A little bit haphazard stems, kind of distracting the way they're going all over. More immersed growth would be nice. It's a good start, but I think the scape is a bit flat in its quadrants. You could use some depth by adding thick stems back and some mid-sized crypts anubias in the front, long stems, and now the long stems in there now are kind of off-putting as they follow no set direction. As if they were fixed to one, it would help balance and settle it. So I totally think that those are spot on comments. It's not a huge tank. It's a very small tank. So you could fit a little crypt in here or something that gives it some oomph. Even a little sword plant, or even when we looked in my tanks, I will take sometimes like Potamogeton gayi or Siganthonis bellum or something just like a weird, interesting textured plant, and plop that in, like one here, another short trimmed one here, and then maybe one or two or three in the other corner. And that will kind of draw the eye to do a zigzag, because your eyes naturally, they want to scan. They want to go, in our culture, reading English anyways, they go from, left to right, top to bottom, generally, the way we read people. Now, if you're Japanese or if you're reading Middle Eastern, the interesting thing they've found in studies is that we still scan people right to left, generally, their face. But their whole body, it depends on the culture. And so when it comes to art and things, it's the same instinctual thing, that it depends a little bit on how we were raised. But the point is that you want, as your eye scans up and down, you want to give it a spot for your eyes to rest, or a spot for your eyes to feel like, boom, here's some detail in the top left, then all the way to the mid right, and there's another detail that's the same color or the same texture. And then in the front, it's like a mini version of all the other stuff your eyes already scanned. So I think that's kind of helpful to balancing escape. Now we've got Shannon and her 20-gallon long. Let's get that pulled up. Wait, did I just pass? No. S.H. Shannon. There we are. All right. Lots of information here from Shannon. And look at this from above. Very nice. I mean, lots of stuff going on. Looks like there's clay beads or some sort of substrate that's got beads in it. Looks like we got a Nubius cophifolia. We got a betta sorority maybe, or maybe it's just a betta gathering. And then guppies in here too. Got lots of different colors of substrate. Right off the bat, my instinct is to say pick a color and stick with it for the substrate. But what you could also do is you could do patches, kind of like a Dutch aquascape, and use white rock on one part, this yellow pebble on another, this substrate on another, and the sand on another, and you could kind of do a mosaic, like a paint by number type thing. Would be interesting, I think. Also, as far as, you know, we were grading heavily on how happy the fish were going to be. So it looks like these fish are looking pretty happy at the moment. For bettas, though, I would always give them more cover. The answer is always more cover. But the fact that there's a cave here, that there's rocks, there's a spot to hide over here, there's more rocks back there, it's interesting. And this is another interesting small moss that I can't figure out what it is. It's like a little mini tree. Might be like a little flame moss or something. But it is such a fine moss. I'm kind of curious what that was. And then when we look at the whole thing, again from above, but on the other end, you can see that the Anubias came up immersed more. And that here we had some, I don't know, what is this, stargrass or maybe Potamogeton of some sort? Erectus? No. Maybe health fry? Maybe, no, not that either. It's not serrated. Huh, that's interesting. I'm a little curious now. But cool pieces of wood, cool pieces of stone. I would have just brought them together more, into islands, so to speak. The other thing is when you're working with stone, try to find the grain. So you've got stone here that's got great texture and everything, but there's some parts that are red and some parts that are not red. And then even on this gray stone, there's some that's kind of reddish brown, some that's silver. You could orient it so all the red faces upright or all the silver faces left or whatever in the tank, so that there's kind of geologically, it looks plausible, like it could have been put there naturally, unless you want a unnatural looking just scattering of parts, which is fine. But when that happens, it tends to be because it's in a river that's fast flowing and you get rounded pieces. So you end up with more like cobblestone, riverstone stuff rather than that. Yeah, let's see what the other guys have to say. Nice dynamics with the hardscape. Could use more plants. Substrate blend is a bit distracting up close. Would like to see one more type of foreground plants. Nice layering. Nice idea on the tunnels based on Alex's tank. Yeah, I like that you copied me. You know, flattery, that kind of thing. Looking at the leaves in your description, you do need a bigger light, but more importantly, you need to up the dosage of your ferts. That will allow more plants to grow. You might also want to add a more fine substrate at the top layer. You know, top it off with sand and then use those bits of the other bits we saw in these things. Use those on top of the sand to show erosion to show this scape tumbling apart. Like this was a mountain range. You got all this beautiful red seam in here, and this is a Texas holy stone or a jasper or metamorphic sandstone of some sort. And it's just really cool stone where you want to find so that it looks like it's natural, the way the water would be flowing over time. You've got rounded rocks here. And so what you can do is you can place the rounded rocks out around the periphery and the jagged ones at the top, because the jagged ones at the top are going to be the ones that formed in a mountain range. You've got the sharp mountain peaks, you know, the tents. And when it looks like tents at the top, they eventually get weathered into a rounded top, but all the way down the foothills tend to be more and more rounded from streams and glaciers and things like that. And we can kind of emulate that in our tanks. And it's pleasing to the eye because it's a familiar pattern in nature. That being said, some people want to disrupt that, and it's complete opposite of that. Clay coal is going to be the next one. Clayton coal. I was going to say clay coal. Those are both from the ground. Let's see here. Close your eyes if you get dizzy once again, because we're scrolling all the way. If it will let me. Come on. There we go. All right. All right. All right. All right. Clayton coal. All right. So you can see, this is what we like about the setup pictures, is you can really see what they were thinking. We know, boom, we got an under gravel filter and maybe thoughts for doing a plenum or a low oxygen filtration thing. Then we've got, you know, gravel, mid-sized gravel, and two different colors, 3 different colors, and it's been washed. We know lots of work went into it. And so then that helps us know what the attempt was, what the goal was. And here we got lots of wood, we got lotus. Again, a little bland in the dirt. I would have topped this with an inch or 2 if you can afford it. I know it's pricey. Soil. And then if you wanted to have this look, you could put sand over it again with an inch or 2. And you'd add like 4 inches of substrate, which is a lot. But you got a tall tank here. I mean, relatively. And then you'd have this big, thick substrate that you could do any plant you wanted. But, I mean, great work on all of the plants, on like all the fixing of Java leaf and Anubias and rhizome plants basically hanging on here. Now, there's some stem plants in the back here. I'd love to see this area filled up with something contrasting, like a yellow or a red color would be really beautiful in that center there. Also, it looks like algae became a bit of an issue. Not an issue to me, and we weren't going to judge you down for that. But I'm just curious too. I'm wondering on the filtration if there was a lot of particulate matter, so you might want to use a polishing pad in there. And then we've got CPDs, and this is kind of big for them. These leaves and things are a little bit big, and so my guess is they probably hide a lot. They need like a dense tangle of plants to be at their fullest. And we got some coolie loaches, we got some Neocaridina, and then up top we've got this. So I mean, you could breed some killifish up here, or gouramis, or bettas with this kind of density up here, but you are blocking out a lot of the light. And as long as you're okay with that, it looks like your plants are doing okay. Now there's a little sign here of a nutrient deficiency or a light deficiency. I can't tell which one for sure. It kind of looks like maybe a potassium deficiency to me. Hard to tell, but the way these leaves have the yellow margins here, that would be my guess, is that you need some K element. All right, so, but really pretty tank though. Floating growth looks robust. could use some more foreground detail. Nice valley effect with the driftwood. Nice job on this tank. If you want more nitrogen removal services, try adding more stem plants. With each trim, you remove more nitrates. Would love to see this more emerged growth rather than just the floating plants. That's just for our contest. But I mean, for the sake of an aquascape, yeah, if you want, you can get a lot more nitrates out of there and hopefully get rid of this algae I see forming up here. This looks like a step away from staghorn or blackbeard algae. Very common, happens. You know, it's easy for it to occur. But love the little, love the bulbs and all that. I'd get something not a true carpet would be hard, but you know, you could get hydrocotyl verticillata, you could get hydrocotyl tripartita or pennywort or stargrass or valsenaria, corkscrew val, jungle val, Italian val. There are so many options that'll even grow in this substrate. Add a couple root tabs and they'll grow in there. But if you did and then a sand cap, the sky's the limit with what you could do there. And honestly, the more stem plants you have, the more you're going to not be fighting with this nitrate issue that you have going on. Oh, right on. Glad you like it, Backroom Aquarist. I'm glad that, and thanks for being a member for 3 months, buddy. Appreciate it. All right, so K-Day, who is over in the UK. She is a sweetheart. Why? This thing is so fidgety. Look away, baby, look away. Or you're going to throw up. All right, so this tank, look at this. So we started off. We got some immersed funkiness going on. We got some ferns. We got some things. And in here we got white clouds or meteor minnows, I guess. Sticks in here. Real fern that's in its gamete form. And then we've got, looks like more val. Very, very popular in this contest, val or sag. Up here in this filter, I mean, look at this soil. That's mulm. That is an old filter. But, I mean, that is a bog. She has turned it into a bog. So congratulations. Now, what I found interesting was she wrote in this, and we were able to infer a lot from the way she wrote, but she was talking about how she was introducing ants and like terrestrial insects to the tank. I don't know if the ants ended up underwater. There are a few, I didn't know this, but I looked because of her post, that there are a few species of ants that live underwater, but she had shrimp too, and lots of wood and tannins, and the debris is very reminiscent of kind of a bog with the fluorite and the crumbled other debris. And then look at this top growth by the end of everything. This is a Bacopa, I'm guessing, growing out, and it looks great. This is what a lot of people tried to use, and a lot of people couldn't get it up and out. But yeah, I think that looks nice. Also, the wood and stuff in here. I like the focal point in the center. And then there's like pods and beans and stuff with tannins. So I think the fish would be really happy in this enclosure, actually. And that was another thing that was important to us. And there's room to grow because you can trim all this with just suck nitrates out. But you could add some more stems, some different texture. Maybe some broader leaf plants in there, and I mean but the Bacopa looks nice and everything, but down in here maybe you could tuck in more either Java ferns or even a crypt if you have the soil in here. Or you could do mosses. So you could graft those mosses onto there with either super glue, any type of crazy glue, silly glue, cyanoacrylate based stuff, and just glue it on here. You could even do tillandsia or air plants up in here and really do a nice little song and dance. Cool immersed section. Hard to tell what's happening submerged. Nice use of Bacopa in the emergent section. Would love to see more red plants, such as Ludwigia mini super red, red root floaters, Alternanthera renickii, etc. Try attaching some moss to the wood. Some largest house plants in the back left corner would look good too. And I totally agree with that sentiment. I think that's spot on. Or a large piece of stone in here. You don't want to take up too much water, obviously, but for us to see, this angle was a little tough to see what was going on and how far down the Bacopa was drained, because we don't know if the Bacopa was only a month growing and the tank was drained down to a third high, or whether you were able to get it up and out and you added sticks that were taller. So we were a little confused on that. I think all of us were, but I mean, nice job for what it is too. It does its job. It takes care of the critters, and it looks like you've learned over the years, how to implement different styles of growth. Even see right here, right behind, we can see there's a tank with super red immersed growth. So we were a little bit like, wait a minute, you could have trimmed those and yeah. But in any case, clearly there's a knowledge of the art and of plants here well enough to take care of lots of things. And the light being up high like that, even though it's not the strongest light, allows you some freedom on that. Oh wait, sorry, we went to another one there, but yeah, we skipped up above next. I went, that's not her. Sorry guys, that is Joseph Valdez. But he didn't have final images, so that's funny though that I'm looking. So scratch what I said about the red plants, about you knowing them, but I do think you could include them. I think that would be fun. All right, so next up we've got Sam. Let's see here. So Sam in his 2.5 gallon. What did I just do? Stop, collaborate, and listen. Ice is back with the brick. Okay, come on, Sam. There we go. Stop thinking, computer. There we go. All right, hold on, guys. My computer's going cuckoo. For Cocoa Puffs. Sam. Oh, there we go. Now it lets me grab the little thing. Sam. Have I said it enough? Sam. Bring Frodo to somewhere. So this one we were a little puzzled by, but it was really cool. Midpoint image. We were like, is that saltwater? What is going on here? Bonkers Banana Crazy Tank. Looks like saltwater. Like a reef tank almost. With an anemone and everything. And then, we were like, and it's 2.5 gallons? What is happening? But then we looked and we saw the midpoint images, and we could see that the midpoint, you got these bags over the tank to keep the humidity in. Always good. Oh, it's the upload for the inspiration. Oh, okay. Thanks, Alan. I didn't know that. And then in here, this is really interesting. I've never seen this layout before, but I dig it. He did the kind of path thing, but he did it all the way down a long tank. And I think that's cool. I think it's like a canyon, you know? So that's really, really funky and fun the way he did that. And then I don't know why this is all, yeah, so the pictures are kind of loading funny on this one. It might just be my computer, or I don't know why it loads them all rather than us being able to look at them. But so, yeah, but great moss. I mean, canyons of moss in Sawassertongue. I think we would have liked to see some more plant growth out of the substrate. A lot of people were really reliant on rhizomes in this contest. And to get the immerse growth, you can get it with rhizome plants, but you can really push it over the top when you use stem plants and things, because then they can use all the nutrients from the water column and the root column to try to reach that sun. And then once they breach the water, they've got all the, it's like a dose of steroids at the top. And again, it's cool. We like the kind of stacked rock effect on either side, and the floating plants, and then even the wood on the outside kind of just bracing the tank, looking nicely. I don't know. It says that jade shrimp, copepod snails, stuff like that are in there thriving. So it wasn't. I mean, it's a small tank. It's not a huge tank or anything, and I think it's really cool the way that turned out. You could bring it out with some maybe some cypress health fairy or health fry, like long, or maybe even like a grass, like or a spider plant out of there, or white ribbon plant up at the top or out of the filter or something, and that would kind of bring your eye into the trench. You know, kind of like if you've got a canyon in the woods, when you get out of the canyon on the edge to the top, you get the beautiful forest and the trees and stuff coming through. But let's see what the others said. I love the lagoon effect. Really neat to have a long dimension be the planned angle. Love the diversity of floating plants, maybe a few more different size. Underwater feels somewhat unplanned, but overall, the wild effect really works for me. And then also, nice tank. I'm glad you found enjoyment from it. That's what matters most. Enjoying the hobby, enjoying your hobby. The hedges made from moss and some Wassertang are cool. Would like to see more immersed growth. Yeah, I think that says it well, along with the other things I said about some color and texture contrast and bringing some of that height out of the canyon even more. Just could give it that extra mama. Let's see here. All right, so now we are Suralina. We're going to do your 14-gallon rimless. And we're already down here. So where's the 14? Is this one the 14? That's the 20. Really pretty flagfish. So we had this image, and then we had this image. Lighting was hard to see what was going on, but I could see that you're trying to plant a few like pond plants, basically. This was hard to grade. Is this what I'm supposed to be looking at? Yeah, I think so. Oh wait, 45 gallons. No, where's the 14 gallon? Is this it here? What happened? Sorry, guys. Trying to figure out where. where it all went wrong. Okay, I don't know. Oh, got it. Brandy Emerson is who that is. All right, well, I'm going to do Scott Lee while we're down here, because if alphabetically it's down here, even though it's not in order. But he's coming up next, or coming up soon anyways. So Scott Lee did a 2.5 gallon and looked really nice. Let's see. Why is the gallery high? It's hold on. Let's see if we can. So when I click on this, for some reason, it's not zooming in, but that's a bummer because this tank is really nice. God damn it. Let's see here. I'm trying to figure out why this whole tab seems to be highlighted for some reason. Let's figure out what's going on. Let me see if that's small still. All right, I guess it's not. I don't know why my computer's acting up, but we'll zoom in on this way. Really, really pretty tank. I don't have much to say about this other than you could add a little more color, but I mean, this is laid out nicely. You could have more stem plants in the fact that that would give you a little more nitrate control, I suppose. We didn't get much immersed growth, just the one thing. But that being said, it looks really nice in here. The big cholla wood log at the end and the big spots of rock. Nice looking habitat. Really nice piece of boost. And it's all in a small space. These got a little long, the tendrils from the either from the moneywort, which might have been immersed at one point and then just kind of fell back in. But it could also be from water lettuce, but I like to trim those up a little bit or take out the biggest water lettuce clumps if I have to. So yeah. But it looks cozy enough, and the snails aren't out of control or anything like that. You could play with the leveling of the substrate too, and a layering. You could add a fertilized layer and some finer leaves, maybe in like pick like another crypt here to put out, so that what you've got going on with the overall tank, like this with the leaf coming up to grab your eye. If you got something like that going on down low with these three plants that are all kind of the same color and height, they're different textures, which is nice. But you could do one big plant like right here, like Barclay longifolia would be a nice one, or a Prinz Kleiner sword, and that'll work in gravel, either one. Or a big water lily, tiger lily, not a dwarf one, and just put it in here and let it grow to the size that it's comfortable with. I think that would look really cool. But the other guys, let's see what they say. Tons of growth. Finer gravel would have been good with somewhat limited space. Immersed growth is impressive, but feels a little lonely. Foreground feels a bit lost. Very nice tank and love the plants. Would like to see more of the immersed part of the growth. Yeah, so we all agreed on that. And then... let those stems in the back breach the surface in that small tank. Size of the gravel is probably a bit too large. Maybe next time go with smaller size or sand, Good color and texture on the plants, though. I agree. So now we've got barb malls. Hold on. Zooming out every now and then. I zoom out and stuff. How many people are watching, by the way? On my screen, it says 26. And I feel like that's not a truth. I feel like my computer and my YouTube and my everything is lying to me tonight. 47. Okay. All right. Well, welcome. I mean, hello, everybody. I'm glad you're here. 49, 47, 45. We're all going crazy. I don't know why my system wants to lie to me like that. It's lying to me. Come on, I know we're almost there. Oh, here's the Cyrilina one that we were missing, which is Brandy Emerson, 14 gallons. Look at this beauty. We got some immersed growth here. I mean, talk about immersed growth. That is some beautiful lit. I mean, good lighting in there, probably nice low nitrates to get that level of the red on there, the frog bit and the rooster tail or red root floaters. Also some more submerged plants, a couple terrestrial plants, it looks like, or bog plants, maybe even an orchid in there. Just showing us up. Looks really nice. Even some flowering going on there. Maybe as well. I don't know what this is. I'm not gonna guess because I don't know. But yeah, it looks nice at the top. So let's zoom out here and look at the final countdown. It's a final countdown. So she trimmed it up nice and neat in here. And it looks like maybe like an AR, maybe alternate Aranicia. I don't know. With that color underneath, it could be, or a Lagonandra, maybe. I don't know. Oh, it's purple waffle plant. Thank you, Cyrilina. That is great. And then this just big old chunk of wood is really helpful. It looks like you may have a little bit of a protein issue, or too many ferts maybe at the top. That happens to all of us when you're kind of riding a fine line like this with dosing and stuff. But it could just be from an oily food that you're feeding, or it could be something like kind of a grease, basically, that's in the wood or whatnot. But you could take that off before you take a picture. In theory, we didn't grade you down for that or anything like that, but just a little thought. But the tank itself. Really love this. I love the fact that there's 3 tendrils kind of coming down, and then we've got this kind of canopy above, kind of giving this ephemeral lighting, and then we've got these leaves. It's a real biotope tank. There's a lot of green in here, and a lot of the fine leaf kind of blades of grass, and then we've also got, it looks like, Boos and Anubias maybe. But I love to see this bigger Java fern, maybe some Java fern Wendelov. I see some Crips in here too. But maybe ideally you could get some red Crips or some broader leaf Crips, or just over time this will grow out. You know, it's just a patience thing. It's hard for the contest in such short time. But then you got the cholla wood here and stone and all that stuff. Lots of great hiding spots for critters. I mean, as far as sustainability goes for animals, it's really nice. And as far as the immersed growth goes, it's really nice. We were looking for more of stem plants that were immersed, so we kind of had to look at people's stuff. And like purple waffle's not an aquatic plant, so you know, ideally we were looking for like we've seen the bacopa coming up out of the water and then transforming. And so while this looks really nice, and in most competitions you'd be fine with it, we kind of just wanted like a pennywort or moneywort or whatever to be doing this. You could get Creeping Jenny or Creeping Charlie to do that, any of the creepers. But I mean, that being said, it looks great as is. It's just we had very specific requirements. Now, the other thing I would say is that these endings on the sticks are a little abrupt. They look a little man-made. I would maybe take a saw and cut an angle, not a perfectly flat angle, but like cut into it a couple different triangular cuts, like 1, 2, like chop, like a triangle shape out of it, a wedge shape out of it, all kind of coming into this way, and then literally just smack it against the ground and it'll rough up that end for you. Or you could just cut an X through it and then whack it against the cement or a brick or something. But then you won't have such an ending. Like this ending you could bury or you could hide rocks around. But there's something that our eye recognizes about, like, oh, a human cut that down and that branch is from a tree that is a larger part when we have it end abruptly like that. I mean, they do that at zoo exhibits and things where they have like a big log and it goes through a wall and then they make it perfectly flat, like where it hits the wall. And our eye just sees that and knows that there should be something continuing there. Just like when there's the cut, it should be continuing straight out. So the other thing you could do is you could get a piece of wood outside of your aquarium if it's flush and make a similar sized piece of wood hanging out the aquarium down into here and then have plants on it. I mean, that would be epic. Glue that on there or support that somehow and actually have it like midway on your aquarium. I mean, talk about, I don't know, maybe a crazy idea, but I think that would look really neat. All right, so the other judges said, cool to see how this tank evolved. The final results look much, much, much more natural than the initial images. Love the swamp-like feel in the submerged section. Gorgeous betta. I'm liking the immersed Java moss and the forest floor vibe in the area as well, as in the substrate. Well done. P.S. The plant in the video, you got it right. It's a rotala. Some tips. 1, you're going to want to find another plant to substitute that sword with. It'll make a massive root ball in the tank and overtake all the other plants. Yeah. Try Hygrophila coriambosa. It's got biggish leaves, and your betta will like resting on it. Yeah, you could use that. You could use Barclay longifolia, Logonandra carolensis, Logonandra meboldi. You could do Hygrophila polysperma, even though a lot of states you can't have that, but that's a cool plant. And for that matter, you could use a Java fern or maybe a nymphea, like a Taiwanese lily, a little green Taiwanese lily would do real well. Yeah. Let's see here. All right, so the next person is going to be did we already do Barb, guys? Is Barb here? We have limited notes there. Let's see here. Let's do Texas rat snake. Now there is a name for the masses, a name for the ages. All right, so Texas rat snake. He had a really interesting tank. Now I already gave my advice or my thoughts on what in the heck? Stop zooming in. Texas rat snake. I already gave my advice on that tank. We're going to look at it, and I'm going to read the other guy's advice, but we went over that during the first live stream, covered it in depth because I was pretty blown away by like what in the heck was going on there. I think I just passed it. All right. So this one was cool in that it had this cool shelf. I mean, that is a real looking river. Yeah, and we'll also be sending everybody their notes anyways. But I mean, this tank was just friggin' amazing. This is the best biotope tank we've had in any of the contests, probably. Now, that being said, not the best immersed growth, not the best planted tank by any means, but this is what that river in Texas looks like. I mean, I've been through that area, and that is the bottom of the river, like down to the layers of clay and the sand and rocks and wood and everything that he put in here. I mean, incredible the work that went into making it look like it was just transplanted naturally from the river. To make it look like a natural mess, that would have been, I mean, if this was a biotope contest, this probably would have won. Yeah, exactly. Alan agrees too. But yeah, just there weren't enough plants for this contest. And I know it's hard with the plants that you have there naturally, but at the edge of a river and all the fish were fish he caught. I mean, just so cool. The video is worth watching. I'll put these videos together another time. I know I'm already running like a long show just because we're going over everything so much, you know. But yeah, that one is just insane what he put into it, and he collected it all. So what the other guys said, despite lack of plants, the commitment to the biotope is extremely commendable. It looks incredibly natural, and the fish behavior seemed to reflect that. Really creative interpretation of things. Glad to see it. Very nice biotype tank. In terms of plants, which I know the tank is a biotype, and you usually don't see many plants in this environment, a tiny bit more would have been nice. Would love to see that Ludwigia or primrose growing, both immersed and submersed. Very good job on the biodiversity overall for this biotype. Very creative. And we all were just taken back by this tank, and it was really a nice, lovely tank with native fish he'd caught, and you could grow some other things like kabamba or Rotala ramosior or maybe even a mayaca or something Central American. Even like a nodus, like a guppy grass type thing, or a matin gross of some type, like a milfoil or hornwort. That can happen. I mean, that happens on rivers all the time. I know that some of those things maybe they're not endemic there, but boy, that would be cool. And in your own house, boy, it would be cool to add some crypts up at the top, even though those aren't at all North American. They're not Texas at all. But yeah, I mean, great. I don't know. We that one really blew us away. So Robbie Noel, 55 poly tank. Let me get out of this Zoom. Close your eyes if you're dizzy. I'm so dizzy, my head is spinning. All right, so this one took a bit of a setup. And I think, if I remember correctly, yeah, dwarf sunfish, least killifish, gambusia, and a small rasbora. Summer tubs, basically built a setup out of PVC pipe. Then in this barrel, we had, I mean, that's a hard dimension to do well, but there's pickerel weed and red stem sagittaria in there. And I mean, there's a video, but also just to show you guys the final. I mean, the immersed growth looking pretty good. Looks like maybe there's some other creeping Jenny or maybe Ludwigia in here that was like cut and then put in there after it was already immersed. But I mean, who cares? That's fine with us. That we said that was okay. I even told people, if you're having trouble getting it up out of the water, start with it immersed and push it back down in the water and let its roots seek out the home. But we couldn't really see what was going on in it other than that. It was a little bit tough. The flower was a nice bloom. The rule of thirds and using 3 and then having one that's the tallest. Who knows if that was luck or intention or what, but it turned out well. It looks like there were very little, though, in the way of anything built scaffolding-wise or rock-wise, which just for an aquascape contest makes it a little harder. But we didn't downgrade for the fact that it was in a barrel we couldn't see. And I would guess if you threw floating moss or like guppy grass in there, you probably would be able to spawn anything you wanted over the summer. So probably did its trick being a balanced biome, not biotope, but biome. But we said interesting idea with the tiered submersion containers. Looks like things did well in the sun. Would have been cool to see some variegation or colorful plants. Looking good, though, and I see flower blooms. I like the concept of all local plants, except for the salvinia. You just, like, we like all the plants, but the salvinia wasn't the local one. Fish are healthy. Really like that your tiered pot ecosystem. Yeah, I mean, that whole little rack, that was really cool. So congrats and nice work. Don't have a ton to say about aquascaping because it's so outside of that norm. All right, so then the next person we have is Dinky Winky Dog, which I just like saying. Dinky Winky Dog. Do 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 do. Womp 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 womp. Meow. We're getting there, guys. We're getting there. Did I pass it? How did I pass it? There we go. All right. So this tank loved the whole setup in general right here. I mean, very cool looking cart. Nice in the house. I mean, it just looks so natural and happy. The lighting setup was interesting. I've never seen 2 clipped lights on exact opposing sides of a rimless quite like this. But I like it, and it's interesting, and it makes me think, like, which way is the plant going to go? Is it going to grow straight up? Is it going to reach one way or the other? I don't know. But just like whose tank was it? I think it was Backyard Aquarist. There's kind of this bridge and a false creek bed thing going on. You can see that better here. And in this creek thing, there's stones with little sayings like faith and a cross and hope and serenity and stuff like that. So we kind of dug the theme, a little creative on almost like doing a tile like walkway or something. But what I'd love to see is that this be carpeted like really well, or this be a different color substrate extremely so. It's still beige, even though I know that you have different rocks here. And then here wasn't quite sure what was going on other than maybe a pile of stone, and then we could see some other plants like maybe Alternanthera renekii or something, and some other ones that looked like nice and healthy, happy plants, but couldn't tell for sure what happened in the end. Then the AR looks like it ends up over here, and there's the little bridge. So I think with these diorama tanks, generally you kind of have to pick an angle to view it from. And let's see here. Can I use Command F? Yeah, I can. Let's see what it does on this. Oh, it's going to search every... It searches every word, unfortunately, rather than the headers or anything. But in any case, so this bridge, kind of similar to this Backroom Aquarist thing. But the idea that Dinky Winky Dogs was viewable from above, I thought that was pretty cool and interesting. Yeah, I don't know. It was just different. Definitely different. let's see here. So love the lagoon style concept. Wish the plants were filled in a bit more. That's kind of what I said. But that should happen with time. The island in the background is nice. Would like to see moss on it. Nice job in the scape. Like the back corner island as well as the two front corners. Try adding a focal point in the center stage. Some more emergent growth would also be great. Yeah, I mean, I think those are fair assessments. Definitely. All right. This one we really liked. Randy Roman, really cool. Really cool setup here. The wall was actually painted as a vine, which I didn't even, like at first glance, I didn't notice. But here, I mean, this whole tank screams immersed, like a jungle tank spilling out. And the fish look happy. I mean, there's crypts below. It's a little bare in here, maybe some rocks or some broken up wood. I mean, really some like topple leaves or something would have been a great way to just kind of finish it off. And also the way this tank angles back to give it a little more height up in that back corner could also really give it some oomph, as well as maybe a few more fine sticks like spider wood or something like that. That looks like roots coming off this root bundle. But overall, I mean, nice crypts and also these little plants and down in here. Hopefully they'll fill in for you. And overall in the room, it looks really, really nice and inviting. I don't have a whole lot to say. I mean, it just didn't have quite the immersion level of plants that were aquatic, because you got the ivy or the pothos or the ferns, which look killer. They just aren't aquatic plants, but they look great and they're helping suck the nitrates out for sure. Hiding that might be another good idea. Some people like those roots showing, other people's don't. But I mean, if you put some nice tall stem plants in there, or even just like some floating naja grass or water sprite or wisteria, that could maybe hide it a little bit. Plecos keep tearing stuff up. Yeah, I know how that goes. Especially the wood. I mean, they're probably going to be wood-loving plecos too if they're ancistrous. But I mean, we like that one as well. And we said, love the concept. Nice lily flower. Tricky to do escape on only the surface. I would maybe have picked a smaller lily. Does that exist? Question mark. So you could do a bit underwater too. Great idea to have the floating money wort. Great shots of the blooms. Sad about raccoons, but hey, it's nature. Oh wait, that's the. Is that right? Yeah. Considering adding hygrophila species of several sorts. Would love to see more plant types in the pond. Oh, that's for the other one, huh? Where are the comments for? Hold on. Oh, here we go. Love the crypts. Incredible immersed growth. Might be nice to try some background plants in front of the roots. Nice work, including the sensitive plant. And congrats on the bloom. Like the moss on the driftwood and crypts, try growing a carpet out a bit more in the front, and the tank will be neat. Overall, really good job. Yeah, totally. I mean, I agree. There we go. Found it. Yeah, I know. I found it, Rigel. Thank you for pointing out what a dummy dum-dum I am. All right, Richard McCarthy. Where are you? Will the real Richard McCarthy please stand up? Real pretty. Just right off the bat, it strikes you as, what in the hell? Look at this. What do we have? A hydra of coolie loaches and shrimp and little rasboras and boosts, and I mean lots of stuff going on here. And in a Fluval, one of these flex things, I guess, which is hard actually. I don't know how I would escape one of those other than staying away from the walls. Like I would do an island in the center. So the fact that it was actually good night, Serlina. The fact that it actually stayed, I mean, that you got something to work like this is great. I mean, I think that only way to approach it would have really been with that boat out front. I like the angle up. Now, the immersion got a little bogged up with water lettuce, and that probably blocked out the light and then stifled the rest of the growth a little bit. So that probably hurt a tiny bit. Like once you probably made this progress, then it was like, oh no. But you did bring in light down below beside it, if you guys can see, which I think is really cool. And I'm curious how that worked and how it continues to work to give light to the plants and get some color in there. I can understand the like just decision of like, I'm not gonna trim. We're just gonna like let it do what it do. That's what I did in my other tank too. And it became so unbearable that I definitely, or so unwieldy that I had to just cut the tangles out. Here we go. I mean, you can see there's some really pretty plants in here. And there's a variety of wisteria or maybe some water sprites, some mosses, some nice booses all up here. And then also, I can't tell, is this like an Elodia or an Aquarist, or is it some sort of, yeah, it looks like it is. It's not Signolanthius bellum, is it? Or Signanthumus bellum? But in any case, the color, we like the different colors and textures with the different stick. And I mean, you got plants that are rhizome plants, stem plants, moss, you know, up here, boost up there. Yeah, it could be really dark Mayaka. Doesn't quite have the right top for that, I wouldn't think, but could be. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely full of stuff that the animals would like. I think to get a center point, adding more weight right here, boom, in this spot would do the trick. And then bring a little, tie some red in, like cut the crown off these guys. It's red. I know you were trying to get it immersed, but put some red in here, maybe like one here, one here, one here, or a little clump just right in here. Maybe another little clump right over here and like one more rock. And then you could do the final one with the back up here. And then if you wanted, you could trim a V kind of out of, you could grow this across the whole back or let this come up. And you'd have this green wall, and then you'd have this V cutaway with red, which I think would look really cool. But, I mean, here we can see the different textures from behind, and you can really see that there is actually a whole ecosystem working out well there. So, yeah. It's amazing enough light gets past those floating plants underwater. I wonder if Alan saw the little light there on the side. Enjoyable underwater jungle and nice swamp-like surface. Maybe a little too swampy at the surface, but nice. Wow, lots of floaters. I'm impressed. It's amazing you've got underwater growth, even though it's so thick with the floaters up top. I'd say time for a minor trim on all the stems is nigh. And you might also want to add some liquid ferts, mainly nitrogen. Yeah, or you could just pack in some more fish too. I mean, you could get some more tetras or more whatever, you know, more CPDs or more rasboras or coolie loaches for that matter. And that would, or some cories, and that would definitely bring your nitrates up and probably help feed all those plants. You might have so many plants that they're not feeding. So right now I'm at the point where I basically have about 10 left. Hold on, let's do natural aquariums. Let's do that one too. And then that way, if we want to finish up the last 10, not including the top 4, I mean, we kind of already went over those. We'll do that. So we're going to look up natural aquariums. There we go. All right. Yeah, it did work, you guys. Control F. So here we had one where honestly I was like, is he gonna pull it off in time? I don't know. Who knows? But this is a cool little tank, and already this had some immersed growth going on midpoint. And you can see not that much had gone in, and I bet that it was like the crypts were kind of doing okay, and not growing fast though, or going for the surface nor would I expect they would. That's always a trial and error thing. But there's guys in here, and a filter was going to be used as kind of a planting tier, but there's also a video which is helpful, and red crystal shrimp, so we know the water was nice and clean. And in here we've got just a lovely the grass, the way it curves over, it almost reminds me of Elvis's head or Trump's head. The comb over. But no, the crypt lutea looks really nice, and maybe some lucens. Maybe, I don't know what all's in there. Wenti too. But then the back we looked at and we were like, oh, wow, nice. That's really nice. With the hydrocotyls and the, looked like some crypt up there too. And again, I don't know if it was a Cypress hellfry or a Valsinaria. Let's see, does it say which one it was? It does say that it was crypt hydrocotyl tripartita down below. Doesn't say for sure what that big comb over was. But in any case, probably a Val. It looks nice. Very nice. Alike. Yeah, we need some orange Val. Some red metallic Val would have done the trick for if it was Trump's hair. All right, so love how the immersed plants are growing down the sides of the tank. The submerged foreground kind of get muddled. Awesome growth overall. Good idea with planting in the filter box. Very nice job on the tripartita and emerged section overall. Love the idea of filling up the filter section. Yeah, me too. The gravel for the with the gravel for the plants. Try adding some more accent plants and small plants in the submerged area, as well as something to divide the back part of the tank with the front part of the tank. It's a bit blended. Yeah, I think those are all good comments. Apparently my everything is frozen right now. Curious if StreamYard is even working. Do I exist? Does anybody hear me? Am I talking into the void? More so than normal. Because right now I'm getting all errors, frozen screens. Alan, first successful page search bonus prize. I appreciate that, buddy. I'm special. I take time. Leave me alone. All right, guys. So we will get to the other ones hopefully soon. I'm going to call it, though, because I can't I can't get anything to load on my screen. Literally, like I just got it up on my phone again, and now it won't work on my, it's not working on my StreamYard. I don't know, maybe I hit my StreamYard limit or something. But, you know, thanks for joining me, guys. It's always fun to go over these. Looks like we've got about 7 left to cover out of the ones that were finished submissions and stuff. But Mrigel does have notes for everybody. And yeah, my eyes from that scrolling are like, yeah, I'm sorry. Sorry I did that. I could have saved everybody's eyes. But I'm assuming that it's mostly folks who submitted their tanks that are watching, wanting some feedback. So also feel free to message me if I missed it, and if for some reason we don't come around or you weren't in one of these, but we'll try to get back to them. I just know that we have the Piranha Expert coming on Sunday, and then also I'm going to be on the Aquarist podcast with a guy who's a fish farmer. If you haven't ever heard the Aquarist podcast, on Monday or Tuesday of next week, probably, maybe Sunday even later that night. But I'll be doing a history of the hobby and the 10 things that changed it, which I'll also be doing at Fishtoberfest on October 10th in Portland. So yeah, I think I'm going to do a vote in the community section and just double check what people want me to lecture on there, because it could be a few things. But thank you guys for hanging out, for listening, for going through the hard work of creating these scapes. And obviously, thank you to my other fellow judges. You guys rock my socks. You don't rock them off. You don't rock my socks off, but you rock the socks. The socks are rocking out, basically. Yeah, so yeah, interesting concepts. I mean, it's like all together as a community here. If we all took our favorite parts of each thing and made a Frankenstein's monster, we would have had the ultimate tank, you know? But yeah, yeah, I'd love to see Goliad farms too. I would. We'll see. Someday maybe. I have some inroads that might get me there, but I know he is Aquarium Co-op has done a couple tours there. I don't know who else has he had other than maybe Rachel O'Leary maybe, and I don't know if Dustin or anybody else has been there over the years. Let me know what other channels have been there, because sometimes, you know, farms and things will have one channel and they'll be like, okay, it's already been done by somebody who had better filming gear than you. But I'd love to at least talk to him. He's such a wealth of knowledge and a cool setup he's got there. But I will be talking to a farmer. I will be talking to a Florida farmer, 4th generation, next week. So hopefully we will have, you know, hopefully we'll have a time to have him on, and he'll want to be on, because I'll be consulting with him on some other stuff that I was working on before I lost it all on my phone, about the history of the actual farming industry of aquatic fish, and how there used to be over 790 farms in Florida and Georgia, and now there are less than 160 permits. And yeah, that's just crazy to me. They've all been, I guess, conglomerated and bought out by Seagrest or this or that, Imperial 5D. There's a few small ones that still pop up from time to time, but a lot of them go out of business after a while. It's a hard game, and a hurricane or something can just knock it all out. So I like to support that industry when they're doing it right. But in any case, guys, we're at the witching point of 2 hours, and thanks for sticking with me. I appreciate it. My manatee appreciates it. The family of manatees appreciates it. Manatee! And I will talk to everybody a little later, hopefully with either more teeth or less teeth. Like, 5 less teeth or 2 more teeth, one or the other. All right, guys. From your friendly hillbilly, Alex, I will talk to you later. May your week keep getting better, because mine sure's gotta. All right, I'll talk to you guys later. Bye-bye. Oh, yeah. Mridgel will be sending comments and info to entrance in an hour or so, because he's a really nice guy. He didn't need to do that. We could have just left you flapping in the wind, but he's a nice guy, and he is going to do that. Although people like Pete, I talked about your scape pretty intensively. Some of the scapes we didn't cover tonight, I did talk about and said, you know, things about in the other streams. So hopefully you heard that some of those comments, but hopefully we'll get to them anyways. All right, guys, I'm going to get out of here. My tooth's actually hurting, like the air hitting it now that I'm talking with my mouth open. I'll go back to just quietly mumbling. All right, guys, I'll talk to you later. Have a good night, and thank you so much, fellow judges, even though you make fun of me because I am a Luddite when it comes to knowing how to search or do anything on the computer, like hotkeys. All right, guys. I'll talk to you later. Bye, guys.